How's it going, everybody? Webhead Flash here again, and today, I'm going to be talking about what I promised after I did my Avengers game rant. Here is my review on the Guardians of the Galaxy game. So, I just recently got this game for Christmas. I just finished the game right before I hit record. Why wasn't Avengers like this? Can someone explain that to me? Why wasn't Avengers like this game? This sentence I'm about to say has been said everywhere. Like almost every single review, you're gonna hear this sentence said. This is what Avengers should have been, but wasn't. This game is literally the exact opposite of Avengers. There is so much that this game did right. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. So, just to start off with, this game isn't perfect. I will say that much. This game is far from perfect. It is still sort of buggy. And after 2 months, it feels like something should have got fixed, but a lot of them are minor. There's no, big game-breaking, problems with it. There was one issue I ran into where it's the game, because as you can see, I played it on Xbox. There was one issue I ran into with the game where it was very, very weird, where it kept booting the game, it kept turning the game off. So that was really the biggest, bug I ran into with this game. And, there are a couple of other things here and there. There's really not a lot with this game. There are a bunch of minor things, but that's really only the major thing I included because, again, I got this on Christmas. It is currently the 27th as of the time of me recording this. And every single time I had any ounce of free time, it went straight to this game. This game has one of the best stories I have ever seen in a superhero game or superhero anything. Well, we'll stick with games. In a long time. I'm going to be straight up and say this right now. This is probably the best Guardian story, honestly, that I've ever seen. Between this and the very first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, this is up there. This is up there as one of, if not the best Guardian story I have ever just seen. This story is great. But going into the lead up to this game, everybody, including myself, was very, very skeptical when this game was first announced. Because, as everybody knows, so the developers of this game are Eidos Montreal and Square Enix. As everybody knows, this game came out 2 months ago, October of 2021. Everybody knows Square Enix was a big part in the making of Marvel's Avengers. When that game flopped, that's really what had everybody so skeptical, is because of the fact that because of Square Enix and just because this is the next Marvel game after that. And at that point, nobody was really sure everybody just assumed it was both of their faults. The fact that it was both Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. So everybody was very, very skeptical. Despite the fact that, of course, Square Enix did make stuff like the Final Fantasy games, which are really well-received games. So, when me and everybody else saw that it was Square Enix making this game, we were all like, oh, no, we got another one. And at first glance, especially what really turned me off was the designs of some of these characters, especially Star-Lord's mask. When I first saw that mask design, I was very, very skeptical because I was not a fan of it in the slightest. It has since grown on me, of course. When I first saw that, and I was like, I don't mind the designs of the others, but Star-Lord at first I was like, ugh, yikes. So, yeah, I saw that, and it was, the more I kept learning about this game, the more disinterested I became with it. When I heard that you were only going to be able to play as Star-Lord, I was like, oh, man. I heard that, that was pretty much what I thought was the final nail in the coffin, and that I'm never touching this game. I just became so uninterested with it, and I just didn't care, because I'm just like, they screwed up with Avengers. How are they going to do it right with Guardians of the Galaxy? And then the game came out, and to my surprise, it was getting positive reviews everywhere. It was getting unanimous praise maybe not so much unanimous, but it was getting praise everywhere. I would look through so many reviews of the game, and almost every single one of them would be super positive, if not all of them were positive reviews. And hearing stuff like, it's one of the best Marvel games to have ever been created since Spider-Man PS4. And I was like, that's pretty big. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go out of my way to buy this like automatically, like pre-order and everything, like I did with Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, Iron Man VR. But it was like, maybe I'll wait a little bit. I'm in no rush to play this, so we'll just see. So when I got this for Christmas, I was pretty excited because I was like, I've seen pretty good reviews on it. I'm excited to give this a shot. And then as soon as I started playing it, I got sucked in. As I just told you, this game is a very long story, and there's a lot to do in it. I started playing this, and then I was just like, every single time I had any ounce of free time, it went into this game. I would hop on, play through the story, and then I got to about chapter 6, when I was like, oh yeah, the MCU skins are in this game. So I was replaying through parts of stories to go to the sections where I just looked up where the MCU skins are, because I didn't want to have to bother with scouring these 6 missions that I just went through just to look for these MCU skins. I want to know exactly where they are so I can wear them. So when I finally found all of them, I'm just like, okay, and they pretty much didn't leave those outfits for most of the game until chapter, I believe it's 14, where it auto puts you in, well, you can change them afterwards, but they automatically give you like these white costumes, so I'm just like, you know what, I'll stick with these. Again, not that I thought these designs were bad, because playing the game and just seeing them a lot more, I actually really like these designs, but I like the movie designs more. Once I got to those white costumes at the end, I was like, okay, I'll stick with these, and then the final mission has you in the main costumes. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I started the game in these outfits. I think it's about time I ended these in these outfits. But also, that's a main thing, because I'm going to take so many pot shots at Avengers again. As I've said before, Guardians is everything Avengers should have been. Because one thing that surprised me so much, and one of the main reasons Avengers failed as badly as it did, is because of the combat. In Avengers, all of your attacks feel the same. You don't feel like you're doing it doesn't, no matter what you do, no matter what combos you do, what gadgets you use, it doesn't matter what you do, because you are going to do the exact same damage no matter what you do. No matter what hero you use, and that's also a main problem with Avengers. It doesn't really feel like any hero is special, because once you choose one hero to play as, you can't control anybody else. So it's like, if you choose Hulk, if you choose Hulk, you can't control anything Iron Man does or anything like that, but it doesn't matter, because there's no specific things for each character to do to make them feel unique. The most you get is maybe some of the stronger characters being able to break down weakened doors, but even then, that's nothing. Literally nothing. In Guardians of the Galaxy, on the other hand, it surprised me the most, because even though you only play as Star-Lord, you still have control over every single member. There are some sections where only Gamora can slice out openings for you, whether it's like slashing vines down or tubing down. There are some sections where she's the only one that can grapple her sword into a wall to launch you up to a ledge higher up that you can't reach with your boot jets. There are other cases where you have to topple some pillars over that only Drax is able to, or there are cracks in the wall that Drax is only able to break. There are sections where Groot is able to lift up a platform with you on it to get to any higher sections that nobody else is able to, or create bridges across very long gaps. There are some sections where there are very small openings that only Rocket is able to climb into, and some terminals that he is only able to hack. They made every single Guardian feel special. They did not make anybody feel neglected, especially in terms of the story. Every single Guardian gets a moment to shine, because there are moments where they unlock these really special powers, where it's like Star-Lord, where he becomes invulnerable for a short amount of time. Groot, where he's able to heal everybody. And these kind of moments really come from when these Guardians get their moment to shine. Star-Lord gets it from when he's in this illusion and he has to shoot his own mother, who he saw die in front of him as a kid. There's where Gamora opens up about having killed Nebula. Drax about overcoming the fact that his family isn't coming back. Rocket about conquering his fear to save his team. And Groot showing his resolve to be able to have the power to actually heal people. Every single Guardian gets a moment to shine, even outside of those moments. And this is a story that's, I don't even know how long, about 20 hours, something like that. I want to say it's even longer. This game does such a fantastic job of making everybody feel unique. Avengers failed at that so miserably because they never did. They never did. And what really sold me on this was the fact that the amount of dialogue in this game is unreal. Like, there is so much dialogue in this game. From like, if Star-Lord goes off on a random path, they'll be like, oh, where's he going? There'll be some moments where if you select a wrong Guardian to do a specific task, that Guardian will be like, I'm not sure I'm able to do this. It's like there's just so much stuff. And even when you're walking through biomes, they'll just be randomly have conversations with each other. And this game even pulls some aspects from the Telltale series, where you can jump into conversations and influence how they go, or has specific choices on what to say in specific conversations. It really takes aspects from the Telltale games, but in a way that matters. Because while it doesn't necessarily change how the game ends, per se, you still feel like it influences how these characters interact with each other. And it's done so great. And the fact, this is another thing, is because this is Guardians of the Galaxy, you don't really have to like make everything like the most basic Marvel locations from the comics. Because they're in space, you have the capability of just going to a bunch of random cool other planets. And it works here because they're traveling through space, so you have that opportunity to be able to just experiment with the fact that there are so many different planets out there, and they're going to so many different ones, and it just works so well. Obviously, there's going to be some Marvel locations, like places like the Celestial Head of Nowhere, which is really the biggest one. And it is so good. Playing this game, and especially looking up the news where it was, because I said in the Avengers when I couldn't recall whether it was Square Enix who blamed Crystal Dynamics or Crystal Dynamics who blamed Square Enix. But yeah, it was Square Enix that blamed Crystal Dynamics for Avengers' failure. And I don't know specifically if it was mostly Square Enix's fault or if Eidos Montreal just really bent them into shape. But either way, it was clear that, replacing Crystal Dynamics was the correct choice. Because, Square Enix has had experience in making some really great popular games. And it just feels like they did everything right here that they failed at in Avengers. Because once again, as I've ranted before, while Avengers had a decent story, and while the characters were still entertaining, it failed everywhere else, even in parts of the story, because it calls itself Avengers, but you're spending too much time focusing on Kamala Khan that you never feel like playing an Avengers game. Whereas here, it's called Guardians of the Galaxy. It doesn't matter that you're just playing as Star-Lord. You have control over everybody. And again, getting back to the comment where it's like, as Star-Lord, you're primarily hanging back and shooting people and occasionally getting in close and punching. But it's like, because you were alternating between so many different Guardians, you feel like the more you upgrade and the different attacks you do, you feel like your attacks are really, really doing some damage. No matter what Guardian you're using, you feel like even when you're playing a Star-Lord and getting upgrades with him, with his guns throughout the game, you feel like the amount of damage you're doing is so powerful. When you have Rocket throw a grenade at a bunch of enemies and they all just explode and die, you really feel like you are just that powerful. Or having Drax just jump onto a pile of enemies and just they all fly up into the air for you to shoot all of them while they're just sitting in the air for so long. I can definitely say this is one of the biggest surprises I have ever had with just a game in general, because it's literally the exact opposite of Avengers, where Avengers I was really excited for and ended up being one of the biggest disappointments just ever to me. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy was something I had no interest in. It was something I thought was going to be terrible, or terrible at worst, or mediocre at best. And then I played it and I'm just like, this is one of my personal favorite video games because it was such a big surprise for me. I did not expect this story to be as engaging as it was. I did not expect these characters to be as likable as they were, or to be as charming as they were. It was just, again, a couple of bugs here and there, but it's just, so much of this game just worked, and it was like, I did not expect this to work as much as it did. I'm going to hold off on a bunch of spoilers because, I mean, this game is available on so many different consoles. If you have an Xbox, if you have a PlayStation, I don't think it's on Nintendo Switch, but like, if you have an Xbox, if you have a PlayStation, like PlayStation 4 up or an Xbox One or up, which I know isn't a lot of people, but I definitely recommend this game. I would probably have to give this game, because I know I've done ratings for a lot of movies, but I mean, Avengers I give like a 1 out of 10. 1 or a 2 out of 10, because it had a couple of redeeming things, but not enough. For Guardians, oh, that's a tricky one. It's a high score for sure. I would not give it a 10 out of 10, because it did have some of the glitches were were pretty apparent, and some of the combat was, the combat, none of the combat is terrible, but some of the combat feels like it could have been refined in some places. So I'm probably gonna have to give Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm probably gonna have to say a 9 out of 10 for this game. It's between like a 9 or a 9.5, but I'm thinking I'm gonna have to stick more with a 9. This game is definitely worth it. If you're a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I definitely recommend checking this out. It's, again, it's one of, if not my favorite Guardians story, just ever. Between this and the first movie, it's up there, but I might have to lean more towards this, honestly, which is such a surprise for me. So, yep, that's gonna have to do it for my review of Guardians of the Galaxy. If you want me to review some other games, since, you know, I've primarily done movies, and now that I'm done with the Spider-Man countdown, I can take a little bit of time to just do a bunch of other random stuff. But if you guys want me to do some other games, feel free to let me know. If I have them, I'll be sure to review them. I'll probably review Uncharted 4 at some point. I played that about a month or so ago, and absolutely loved it. So, Uncharted 4 could get a review at some point. Jedi Fallen Order could probably get a review, because I love that game. Of course, Spider-Man PS4 is going to get a review. Of course. Miles Morales will. So, expect a bunch of other game reviews to be coming up. If you have any ideas for any other movie reviews, let me know. The next movie I'm going to review, this is going to be a new one, is going to be Scream 5. It's called Scream in the title. I'm calling it Scream 5. It's the 5th movie. I don't know why they just renamed it after the first film, because I'm just like, that's gonna be confusing. But either it's like Scream 2022 or Scream 5. I'm sticking with Scream 5. But stay tuned for that review in a couple of weeks whenever that movie comes out. And hope y'all enjoyed my review of this game. And yeah, that's gonna have to do it. Go play this game, or at the very least, watch walkthroughs of this game, because it's worth it. Just sitting through and just listening to all the interactions between the characters, at the very least, is definitely the highlight of this game. But that's gonna do it, so stay tuned for next time. See you later, webheads!